the three cities could support each other, promote the outlook. That's where the Hispanic population could chime in with this idea. Cities, universities, and corporate backers and people on the board could mobilize the community. Here again, the university is a fantastic aspect of this. They manage a lot of property, have a lot of people involved. They can outreach, and they can have lots of Monarch gardens on the UVA campus. Multi-level educational approach, many players in the problem, contractors.
Like informing every player in this, because there are contractors that sometimes aren't educated enough, and they might file over things that were necessary. So it's like involving everyone in it.
Right. Everyone in the layer of land management. Plant rescue. In Arizona, there's a plant rescue organization that's sort of as an outreach of the city. The city and the state in Arizona enacted a law that enabled this plant rescue nonprofit group to rescue native and endangered cactus. And it's all voluntary with developers and property owners. And the way it works is someone's going to develop, or the city's going to build a road, and all the law says is you got to notify the volunteers, and that they're notified, and they have time to go out and rescue endangered plants. And they do. All these volunteers go out, and you should see them with these carpets picking up these giant, digging around these giant cactus. And they have to go to a school or a park. They can't be sold. So the growers and the nurseries aren't impacted. They don't get their business chopped into by this rescue system. But the plants are rescued and adapted. We're trying to think of ways that developers could not be as much part of the problem and help with the solution, instead of a developer having to argue about a certain segment of his land that people want him to not take. That's always a problematic issue. We're trying to just work around that. So,
can I chime in?
Yes.
So one of our brainstorms on that was, during the, like in the city, when a developer, somebody goes before the zoning commission or planning and zoning commission, that would be a good time to, that would send the flag up that, hey, by the way, we've got this group that would love to review your property for you, no charge. We'll come out and see if there's any native species that we could relocate and rescue before you bulldoze them. That would be kind of a mechanism where you could initiate that action if we had a team of people ready to kind of do emergency response. So I think, there's ways that we could kind of automate that, we could work toward setting that up. And then the developers would be less resistant, they could even get some good PR out of it. If they're going to bulldoze the place anyway, they might as well facilitate rescuing plants first,
I think that's the end of ours.
Well, one thing in that, where it says City and County Unified Front, and it says group created, we were thinking of a board or a council, or it doesn't necessarily have to be appointed by the mayor, but it could be. I mean, it's just a group that spearheads these efforts, that encourages them.
I think that was brought up in another group as well, so that might be something that we need to investigate a bit more at another scheduled call or meeting if possible. Okay, is that awesome? Thank you, very good. A lot of really good ideas. Okay, moving to the back of the, I know that you've talked a lot. I'm not sure how much you actually have to report out, but what is your, I think I came over and asked what's your plan in the future on how to collaborate together and then get that message out to the public. Did you settle on any answers to those questions? Are you going to meet again, or are you just going to depart with your own knowledge and
Well, we
theory?
discussed the different types of data that people have had. Like, I think we all agreed it needed to be data, no please, too. to be qualified in the habitat. And so we were playing around with the idea, like, how big is plot size, maybe something really memorable, like 3 by 3 size, and you have 3 milkweed plants and 3 nectar sources nearby. So something memorable, doable, and that would appeal and be available for homeowners of, apartment folks, anybody with a little bit of space. Yeah.
Well, we talked a lot about the need for early season milkweeds for the spring migrants coming up so that they can reproduce. And that's something that seems like might be neglected. We're not certain what varieties or species we should plant, but we thought we needed to talk about that. What can we possibly do to help the spring migrants? And so one of the ones we mentioned, antelope milkweed, I guess it's called. The green milkweed occurs in the prairies. Might be one possible plant for that.
So what I'm going to ask all of y'all to do, did everyone here sign in on the sign-in sheets that are up at the front? Okay, if you didn't, please go and do that. But for everybody that was in that back group, I'm going to ask you to go back over to the sign-in sheets and put a star next to your name. And then I'm going to try to set up a separate call for all of you. So perhaps you can go home and do some research or collect your notes on this, and we can start creating that mix, that list that we want to be encouraging the citizens of Fayetteville to do. But I'm counting on that group to do it. And if you have friends you want to include in that conversation, we can. But I need you to put a star next to your name on the sign-in sheet so we can set that up. Okay? All right. So that we can bring that education to the masses. All right. Back over to this group.
Okay. So I guess this is, I think part of why we're wanting to talk about this is because a lot of the best manager practices and things like that, a lot of the effort that I've seen so far has been talking about creating new habitat. So our efforts, this discussion that we had over here was really about taking the land that we have in Fayetteville and the region that already exists that could be performing better for monarch habitat. So first we kind of talked about like what kinds of lands are those, and we broke it into public and private land. So of the public lands, we've got city property, school property, conserved land, so Arkansas National Heritage Commission, Northwest Arkansas Land Trust, et cetera, all those different organizations that own land for the sake of conservation. Right-of-ways would be a great opportunity, so road, railway, power lines, any kind of right-of-ways that need to be kept short, and maintaining those in such a way that would encourage milkweed. Stormwater facilities, state parks, city parks, University of Arkansas, those are all public lands that could be utilized. But then we also have the private land, riparian buffers on privately owned property, pasture land that's not being used for livestock, or that may be used but could potentially support milkweed. POA, property owners associations, homeowners associations that are managed by those types of organizations, local farms, and also businesses, and we got that idea from you guys as you were presenting actually. So getting some of these different kinds of lands into some sort of restoration practice. And that also includes the open space plan, or for the city of Fayetteville, the enduring green network. And that'll come up a little bit later. How would we do it? Things like a smart mow zone, so not necessarily a no-mow because there are regulations that determine that, but when do they mow? So working with those organizations to help do it better for monarchs. Invasive control is going to be a big restoration effort, an ongoing fight. We've talked about that here already. If we're going to take away things to allow milkweeds, we want to make sure that the invasives don't come back first. Also, meeting with representing organizations where they are. So the example of that would be the highway department, the transportation department. Instead of trying to tell them what they should do instead, work with them to establish something that maybe to adapt what they're already doing for the sake of, for that restoration. And that would require both a partnership with all those different organizations that own the land. So we're working with the landowners, whoever that might be, to develop a tailored approach unique to that organization that would help for those restoration efforts. We also talked about, we said maybe a Monarch Action Committee, but we already have an Environmental Action Committee that might be really well suited for doing that. And then we kind of got more into the who would be doing it, and so we talked about using an existing network or bringing together a new one, a new coalition, consisting of, us, our organizations, but also any other groups that aren't represented here, including maybe even some businesses. And also, a big thing that's going to be important, and the university might be a great resource for this, is a science-based approach. Doing the research for what is best for Fayetteville and Northwest Arkansas, both for the sake of habitat restoration, but for best management practices. So, did I miss anything, guys? Oh, the where. The where. How are we going to establish where to put our efforts? Because not every pasture is going to be a good one. We talked about how water availability is a good thing to have, or other nectar sources, not just for milkweed. So we talked about using GIS to help identify what those types of properties might be and also prioritize. And using the open space plan that's been developed or the Enduring Green Network, using those, because if we can tie into that, that's a potential funding source as well. And also looking at large habitat areas. So not just large habitats, but the potential for those large parcels of land, if we can restore those for monarchs, that might potentially really help with the monarch population here. Did I miss anything? All right. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Very productive sessions, and certainly already starting to develop future projects that we can all work on together. So was there anything that you discovered in these groups that you perhaps didn't know before you came here today? Something that you discovered something new? You're nodding, so I'm going to point to you. What was the new thing that you discovered from today?
A lot. The best thing is that I like is the part on the Fayetteville website where you can say, it looks like, here's the invasive plant and here's the substitute. I like that. And how that could be expanded to do more with the monarch plant.
Were there any next steps that you thought of as a group that you really want to share with everybody? Some things that we might want to accomplish within the next few months? Well, I would highly suggest knowing what you want to fund before you start writing grants. I'm a fan of doing the strategic planning up front. So that is definitely a conversation that yes, ma'am?
It seems like, if this effort is going to continue, that group that's going to carry it on, not just the ones that are talking about the milkweed, but there's got to be an entity that holds ourselves accountable.
Yes. Well, that was one of the goals of the National Wildlife Federation, was to create informal networks in each of these cities that help to accomplish the goals that city has, to develop a monarch recovery plan and then help to complete it. And the main reason that I was hired was to help establish those organizations and give them a couple of wins under their belt, help establish that plan so that you are more sustainable than if it was simply a commitment made by the city, because you can sort of hold all of these different groups accountable yourself. And certainly with the passion in this room, I see this being sustained longer than if a mayor had just signed up to 3 actions. I wouldn't expect this amount of engagement. So I know that was one of our goals, but I'm not going to push that on any city that might not be ready for it. So based on the conversations that you've had today, do you think that you would like to form, and it doesn't just have to be with members of this room, it could be with some of the other parties that we've identified, do you think you would like to form a coalition network that continue to work on these issues? I'm going to ask for hand raising. Okay, awesome. So that's what I'm going to help you to do, because I like coalitions. It all works out. And I'm going to help you accomplish that over the next year. We only have this limited time with our grant to help establish you and again, make you feel comfortable that you can go on moving forward. You all are going to get to decide what structure you want this to be like. You all are going to get to decide what actions you want to take. I'm simply going to be there to do the paperwork and give you the tools necessary in order to accomplish that. Some communities, their first goal that they set for themselves was to come up with a logo. Others, it was a name. Others, it was a mission statement. So I suppose moving forward, if you're going to go and talk to people about this, what do you feel you need to know? What do you feel is your next step in order to be able to approach people to talk about this group?
Name.
You need a name?
Name and a mission statement.
You need a name and a, so basically what I just said, we need a name and a mission statement. Okay. The logo can wait a little
Get one
bit.
of those partners, get some group at the university to work on a logo, get the young, or the school kids to
Have a contest.
yeah, that's fun.
That's a cute idea. I like that. Okay, so we need a name and mission statement. Contest for the logo? Yeah, I was actually surprised at one meeting I was in, somebody was like, oh, I'll go home and do that, no problem. And they created the logo for the city in about an hour. It was actually pretty impressive. Probably better than the National Wildlife logo, to tell you the truth. Very colorful. Okay, so those are some priorities that we have. We only have 15 minutes. So in case somebody just has something in their head that this is what this group should be called, this might be something that I'd say everyone can send in suggestions, and maybe I can send out a survey where we can then vote on the name that we would all like. So I'm going to be emailing all of you with the contact list from today, as well as from all of the notes that I've accumulated. So if you have any suggestions at that point for a name for the coalition, you then send them to me, and I'll send out a survey so all of you can do that. If you also, the mission statement one is a much longer conversation. So I'd say we're probably going to have to set up either a call, or you all can have a meeting and I can just be teleconferenced in to help you out with that. But the mission statement is a much longer conversation. Tends to be a little bit more heated, so I would actually like to be present for it because I calm the angry. Okay, so name and mission statement, and then potentially having a contest to establish our logo, or that could be a good way to reach out to like a graphic design department at the local college. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I think that school children do a wonderful job with pictures, and there could be a way to give the women's school, not for kids, but the women's school, a prize.
Yeah, that was what was coming to mind. Just give the winning school a garden or some plants to.
Some money to get the plants for their garden.
Oh, let's not go so far as to saying that we have money to give away yet.
We can find the plant for their garden easier than we can find the money.
I think so.
We can give them the plants.
Typically, that has been the easier, because I've heard a lot about seed today and groups that already have it, so perhaps we can find somebody that would be willing to contribute some of those plants.
It brings it to the kids who can go home and say, guess what? I'm drawing a picture of a butterfly for our garden, and we may win a prize.
I love it.
Kids like to do things like that.
Okay. All in favor of having a contest with local school children to develop the logo? Raise your hand. All opposed?
There should have to be some parameters.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not, I don't want it to look like a bicycle by the time that it comes back, so certainly, but this is also something that you all are going to decide who the winner is.
Well, but also in the earlier meeting, there was a big discussion about butterfly versus monarch.
Okay.
And are we going to make that distinction?
You can educate the children about the difference before they draw it, because I don't think that's important to know anyway.
I mean, but I
Well,
guess-
first there has to be a mission statement, and that will define.
Yes, so our first priorities are the name and the mission statement, and you all are going to get to decide whether or not this group is completely focused on monarchs, focused on butterflies, or focused on monarchs and other pollinators, has been how some have framed it. I know I brought this up yesterday, and I'll say very quickly, and then I promise I will call on you, that because of all of the interest in monarchs, I've started referring to it as the gateway insect. It manages to get a lot of people engaged in these issues that wouldn't be engaged otherwise, because so many people have these connections to the monarchs that they saw as children. There's just like a nostalgia aspect there. So we've been able to engage people in conservation projects that are going to benefit bees, even bats, things that people don't want in their gardens are going to benefit from this project. So even if the group was to simply be called the Monarch Group, other things are going to benefit from it. It's just that that is the thing that's been most energizing for groups across the country, is this focus on the monarch. Not to say that you have to be, just to say that just because the group itself says monarch, and it doesn't mean it's exclusive of, we're just planning for monarchs and none of the other insects will benefit. Keep in mind. Yes, ma'am.
I think that a logo contest should be open to anyone, not just school students. Because there are a lot of creative people in Fayetteville, and the arts, the university. Don't limit it to only schools.
We need to, whenever we get to that stage too, we need to make sure it's a logo that's, whoever chooses, something that's reproducible for signs and all that, so we'll have to, again, set some parameters on it.
Well, and again, I would say that the people in this room are the ones that are going to ultimately choose it, but if you would like to set some guidelines of the logo must include these aspects, I would assume the name might be in some way incorporated into the logo, what have you, so we can set those guidelines later on. But as mentioned, we probably do need a name and a mission statement before we decide what our logo is going to look like. So we're going to have a conversation in the near future to decide on those things. Are there any other priorities that we really need to set as a group before we leave today? Yes, sir.
There's been talk about Fayetteville regional. I think at the very beginning, we need to decide what our scale is for now. Not necessarily forever, but just for now. Where do we want to try to reach?
I would agree with that. I think we could decide that today.
Yes, that is a decision that we can make promptly. And again, this is entirely up to you. So who would like this to be a Fayetteville-specific project? Raise your hand.
I think to start
To start with?
Right.
Okay. So I know I did hear a conversation earlier about starting with Fayetteville, and then once we have sort of the toolkit of how we succeeded here, then branching out into the other communities surrounding Fayetteville. Is that into the spreading out to the region? But we need to succeed on our home turf before we can go outside. Does that work? Yes, ma'am.
I think when we come up with a name, it would be good if the word Fayetteville or whatever's in the name would be interchangeable. Kind of like Feed Fayetteville is now Feed Community, so that it would be nice if, when we collaborate with other communities, if they could have the same name. They don't have to, but...
So we want to make sure that the name could be inclusive of other communities?
Well, I think we could keep it in the back of our mind.
Okay.
And see if that's a priority.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be, but...
The name also can change as the effort changes. So it could start out as a city effort, and then once it expands to a regional effort, at that point you can decide sort of what you want to call yourself. Not to be concrete. Everything can change. Movable. Any other priorities and next steps before we move on today? Is there anything else that you all really want me to do before we meet again?
Can you, when you email this stuff out, can you send us some examples of other mission statements from other cities?
While I have groups in other cities that are in the process of settling on it, no one has finalized the mission statement yet.
Yeah.
So,
I'm thinking there's probably common elements that come out,
yes.
or that will come out.
I can send you the draft that I have written for this. Usually it's been a flip chart paper that has been so crossed out and moved around in arrows and circles and unlit that it's unsightly.
I know when we tried to do a mission statement at the state meeting, that's where we got to too. It was, I don't like that word.
Exactly.
It,
So the first thing would be for us to sit down and identify the area that we're really focusing on, which at this point we're saying Fayetteville, what you all intend to do as a group, and for what purpose are you all doing? That's the typical point of a mission statement.
Yeah, I think those bullet points right there may be enough just to get us started.
Sure.
Just to give us some parameter to where...
So perhaps I could send out another survey just with those questions, and then I'll be able to show you all sort of how everybody responded, and then as a group we can identify what words we all like collectively. Okay, so we can start out in that work. So that will also be part of the survey that I send out. Yes, ma'am.
Can we either take a couple minutes now or maybe electronically to make sure that we have everyone involved who should be involved? If there's any groups that we've mentioned today that are not here that should be part of the conversation or should be invited or, like, is anyone, sorry across this. I was going to say, anyone else here from the university? Because we've talked a lot about the university. Or are there master gardeners here?
Yeah, I think you need like.
So,
Johnson
Yeah,
from
it seems like we
facilities.
should at least reach out to either Mike Johnson or someone else in the land management aspect of the university.
I think that, Grace, maybe that's a question that you send out in the survey.
Yes, so-
Who was missing at this
Yes.
meeting, and so everybody can think
Because
about?
we didn't get it, because there were so many people, we didn't really have enough time for everyone to introduce themselves and say what organization. So once I send out the sign-in sheet that you all signed, you can identify who wasn't here, and we can start identifying those priorities of future partners for these next meetings. So, great, I have tasks. Anything else that you want me to do? Okay, I have kind of a silly request, actually, and that's that I would like to take a picture of all of you. So, sorry, but we have a Facebook page, and I'm the only one that posts to it because I'm the only one that's actually working with the communities that they're aimed at in person. So, I don't know where the best place would, I don't know, on the stage?
yeah.
Okay, so if all of y'all could come up on the stage, I would like to get a picture of you.
Probably that's not better, it'd be nice to be outside.
Sorry, you know.
Somebody turned this thing off.
Did you?
Right? It's like the class picture when you were growing up. Everybody line up based on height. Oh, that was a good idea. And then whoever is in the middle is going to be the one that's holding the proclamation, I think.